Hey guys, welcome back to Brownble. It's time for another Q&A today. We got some great questions this week. We're going to be talking about nutritional and brewer's yeast, how to get all the food to the table warm at the same time. We are going to talk about egg wash substitutes and where to buy some of the harder to find ingredients sometimes used in vegan cooking. Stick around. Our first question is, what is a good egg wash substitute? So what they're talking about here is that little wash we put on top of pastries and pie doughs and things like that to help them become nice and brown in the oven. The best egg wash substitute is some soy milk. You can also try another type of non-dairy milk, but soy is really the best. It really makes things nice and golden brown. Just brush it on and pop your goodies in the oven. Question number 2 is, how do I get all the plates to the table and have the food be warm? So if you've ever seen films where there's a restaurant kitchen, you see these lamps that kind of keep the food warm until you have all the plates ready to be sent to the table. But we don't have that at home. So what can we do to help keep the food nice and warm? So a lot of people think that covering the plate helps to keep it nice at a nice temperature, and that's true in some cases. But if you have anything that's crispy, crunchy, nice golden edges, that's going to become soggy because you're going to have it under steam. So my favorite way to help keep things warm until you take them to the table is to actually warm your plates. So stick them in the microwave for a few seconds or a minute just to get it nice and warm, or put them in the oven. If you've been using the oven and it's nice and warm, stick them in there just for a bit. If they're not oven proof, they might break if you leave them in there too long, but just for a bit to get them nice and warm. Put your food on the plate, and once it reaches the table, it's still going to be warm and perfectly crisp if you have crispy edges. Question number 3 is great and so important. I get asked this question a lot. What is the difference between brewer's yeast and nutritional yeast? Now, if you've seen any of our videos, you know we're big fans of nutritional yeast, but what is the difference between these two? You can often find them really close together in the supermarket or health food store. So what's the difference? Well, first of all, let's compare these to active yeast. Active yeast is what bread is made of, and these are actually 2 types of deactivated yeast. That means they have been pasteurized and dried to help boost their nutrients and also to allow you to use them in other things other than making bread rise. So that's the first difference between those 2 groups. But what about the differences between nutritional and brewer's yeast? Brewer's yeast is actually what comes after the process of making beer. So it's kind of a leftover from that process. It's still full of amazing nutrients, and in appearance they're very similar, but the taste is different. Brewer's yeast has kind of a hops flavor to it, so it can be a little bit bitter at times. So for cooking, my favorite is nutritional yeast, especially because it has that incredible cheesy flavor. This does not come from the process of making beer, and the taste is just incredible. You can even eat it as is on top of popcorn, and it tastes amazing. And this is what the majority of vegan cheeses, cheese sauces are made of. So it really is a nice, cheesy, amazing ingredient for cooking. Now, what about the nutritional benefits? I'm going to read some of the amazing nutrients found in nutritional yeast. It's really a powerhouse. So normally nutritional yeast has niacin, thiamine, folic acid, zinc, selenium, essential amino acids, which is what makes up protein. And the best thing, it is often fortified with a lot of B vitamins, so the B complex, including vitamin B12, which can be elusive in vegan diets. So this is a great source of fortified B12 supplement to add to your food, and it's simply delicious. Now, brewer's yeast has some nutrients too, but the flavor is a little bit off, at least in my opinion. So nutritional yeast is what you want when you want to cook a savory, cheesy recipe. I can totally relate to this last question we got. Where can I buy harder to find ingredients that are sometimes used in vegan cooking? I remember when I first went vegan, or even before then, the first book I read was Alicia Silverstone's The Kind Diet, my favorite vegan book. I highly recommend it. But it had lots of recipes with ingredients I had never heard of, and now these ingredients are so simple to me. They're so basic. It's things like tofu and tempeh, which are not at all hard to find. But in the beginning, I went with my book to the supermarket. I couldn't find anything, and I promise you, I think this is one of the reasons why it kind of took me a while to become fully vegan, because I just thought it was inaccessible, impossible to find. all of these things you need to cook. Now, it's not true that you need these specialty ingredients to cook vegan. Vegan food is vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, those you can find anywhere. But if you are looking for some of the vegetarian or vegan alternatives, some of the cheeses, some of the kind of health food store type things, there are specialty stores where you can find everything. So we're gonna go through those. Now, one of my favorites is that now in supermarkets, your everyday supermarket, there are two special aisles that will often carry some of these harder to find ingredients. One is kind of the health food aisle. There's usually an aisle with kind of healthier whole wheat varieties of bread and pasta and things like that. And they often have a little refrigerated section. You can find tofu, sometimes vegan sausages, some vegan cheeses. And now normal supermarkets have even bigger sections, but even the smaller ones will have a little kind of health food area. That's a great place to start. You also have your international aisle, and that's where you can find some of the harder to find spices and some of the other ingredients that really round out your vegan menus. Outside of your supermarket, there are wonderful little stores that will carry everything you need. One of my favorites is finding your local Asian store. Why? Because here you can find things like silken tofu in those little aseptic packages. That's really great for creaming up and making puddings and pies and things like that. You can find all sorts of sauces, great for topping noodles. You can find noodles, you can find sushi making ingredients, edamame, lots of delicious stuff, and even some of the harder to find vegetables depending on where you live. So where we live, bok choy this is really the place to find it, and we love bok choy. It's filled with calcium and wonderful goodies. So it's a great place to start, and usually you will find one really close by because there are many, especially after now that everybody's loving sushi and making Asian dishes at home. Another store that is really helpful is a specialty store or a place that sells international fruits and veggies, or just kind of an international goods store. And these are also very easy to find. Almost every big city has one, and you can find spices. This is my favorite place to find spices for making curries and things like that. So that's another great place to look for. But the last one is my absolute favorite tip, because you can find a store of this variety, and I'm talking about the traditional old-time health food store. You can find this anywhere. Even the smallest towns have some sort of version of it. Why? Because even if you think of vegan as something that is relatively new, which it isn't, but at least in the mainstream it is, vegetarians have been shopping in these places for years. And these places are filled with amazing, amazing goodies that will round up your menus at home. So this is the place where I finally found all of the goodies that I was looking for when I took my book to the grocery store and I couldn't find tofu or tempeh or seitan or miso or any of these kinds of things. So this is the first place I would go to. Find your local health food store and you will be in heaven. You won't believe how many goodies you can find in just one place. Another amazing place where you can find practically anything is the internet. So don't forget to look online for the things you're looking for. Now, not only are there amazing websites that are exclusively dedicated to selling vegan products and you can have them shipped right to your door, but even places like Amazon sells amazing goods that you can have delivered and find in a pinch. That's all I have for you today. Send us your questions to info@brownble.com, leave it in the comments, or use the hashtag AskBrownble, and we'll make a video for you. Thank you so much, guys. See you soon.